Well, hello. So we're continuing the notes that we were just covering in the last video, except in these examples, we're going to be looking at not parentheses, but fractions again. And so we'll be able to get that extra little bit of practice in with fractions and get a better understanding about how fractions work. And so once again, building up like I did in the previous example, we're going to start with 6 with a fraction bar and 2. So just to be clear, this is the same thing as typing in a calculator 6 divided by 2. And that's actually what the purpose of the division sign is. If you guys haven't been told this before, I found it to be a really cool fun fact. When you have the division sign and the 2 dots above and below, that is the exact sort of structure that you have with a fraction in the first place. The top dot represents the top number, the bottom dot represents the bottom number, and then the line that's there is that fraction bar that you would see. And so that's that division sign actually representing a fraction. And so when we type this, 6 divided by 2 in a calculator is the same thing as typing in division. And so in our calculator, what you end up seeing here for division is the division sign like we have right here, but this is also a standard calculator. If we go to a scientific calculator, when we look at other sorts of division problems like here, they have a fraction bar. And so what you're seeing there is something called the reciprocal. And we won't go into too much detail about it there, but that is an example of a fraction bar being used instead of the division sign. And even though the division sign is still here, the fraction bar is preferable because it lets us do more things. And so we're able to type in 6 divided by 2, and that's where we're going to get our answer of 3. Let's look at the next example. So in this next example, we're going to have b divided by 2, where instead of having our 6, I'm writing in a variable. But as we're looking at expressions and plugging in values for our variables, I'm going to tell you that b is equal to 6. And so what that means is our b is 6. So just like in the previous example where we had 6 divided by 2, because of the fact that b is 6, we're able to plug that 6 in for our b. So that actually means we have 6 divided by 2, just like in the last problem, and just like we worked out a second ago, we know that is going to be the value of 3. And we were able to do that because we were told in the problem that b is 6. So let's take it one step further. Let's look at the example where we have b times 3 divided by 2. Keep in mind that this is the same thing as writing 3b divided by 2. We don't have to write a multiplication sign in order for it to be multiplication. The lack of a sign represents the multiplication. But we're doing this where, and if you haven't guessed it, you can go ahead and guess now, b is equal to 6. And so just like before, b is 6. So we're plugging in our 6 for b, which means when we go to simplify this, we're simplifying it not with the variable, but with the number. And so 6 is being multiplied by 3, all divided by 2. Now, how I said that is important. All divided by 2 means that the 6 times 3 is being grouped together. And just like parentheses, the 6 and the 3 being grouped together means we want to do it first. We don't have to do it first because it's being multiplied. but it sometimes makes it easier to do it first. Let me make a comparison between the multiplication that you see in purple and the example of 6 plus 3 divided by 2. In the green example, we have to add first. And the reason why we have to add first is because of the order of operations. That grouped 6 plus 3 with addition means we have to take care of that addition first, because adding and subtracting comes before that multiplying and dividing. In this problem that we're working on right here, because we're multiplying, multiplication and division technically happen at the same time. And so when we go to show our work, it's easier to do that multiplication first, but not necessary. If we follow the directions in the problem tells us, because the 6 and the 3 are grouped together, to do that first. So 6 times 3 is 18, all divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So let's look at one last example here. That one last example is going to be taking the same problem we've been working on so far, except we're just going to be tossing in one more variable. And so in this example, we have b times w all divided by 2 when b is equal to 6 and w was equal to 3. So just like in the previous problem where we had our 6 and our 3 plugged in, divided by 2 to get to 9, we're doing the same thing here. The only thing is we want to plug in our numbers first. And so we have our b is 6 plugged in for b, and we have our w is 3 plugged in for w. So that means we have 6 times 3 all divided by 2. And just like in the last problem that we worked out, 6 times 3 is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for your time and your work and your effort. I hope that makes some sense. If not, email me, reach out to me. We can meet through Google Meet, and I'll be glad to help you all out. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you this week. Take care.